with you, and there's something about singing that elevates our attitude and our appreciation for God. And it's an honor to be able to sing with brothers and sisters in Christ. The songbook of the Bible would be the book of Psalms, 150 of them. And these are poems, songs, prayers, compiled in poetic format. And they're given for our instruction. They're given for our edification, just as these songs that we sing are given for our instruction and edification. And I want you to open up your book and look at one of those songs with me in the book of Psalms, the 64th Psalm. That's where we're going to spend our time this evening together, in the 64th Psalm. We're going to start off by reading this together, and then we're going to go back and dissect this and look at the characters, which are going to serve as our points for this particular lesson. Hear my voice, verse 1, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from dread of the enemy. Hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the throng of evildoers, who whet their tongues like swords, who aim bitter words like arrows, shooting from ambush at the blameless, shooting at him suddenly and without fear. They hold fast to their evil purpose. They talk of laying snares secretly, thinking, who can see them? They search out injustice, saying, we have accomplished a diligent search, for the inward mind and heart of a man are deep. But God shoots his arrow at them. They are wounded suddenly. They are brought to ruin with their own tongues turned against them. All who see them will wag their heads. Then all mankind fears. They tell what God has brought about and ponder what he has done. Let the righteous one rejoice in the Lord and take refuge in him. Let all the upright in heart exult. I think this is it certainly for me has been an encouraging study looking at this, because I know that in my life I have faced evildoers. I've faced people who are wicked. So this is what we're looking at, because this is perhaps the main adversary of this particular psalm. It's the wicked. So if we look at what the wicked are doing and what their point is, it's really, in this particular psalm, it's all focused around what we might call, in our 21st century lingo, slander, right? It's words, it's these harsh rhetoric that is meant to bring someone down. It is an evil that they are trying to accomplish. And the focus of this particular slander, the focus of this evil rhetoric is on the righteous, so that the evildoer may bring down the righteous. Have you ever had someone in your life like that, who just talked about you, maybe behind your back, maybe in front of your face, and they just tried to bring you down? They never said anything kind or anything nice about you. Have you ever had someone like that? And they never, ever, ever had an intention to make you feel good. You ever known someone like that? I think probably most of us have, at least to some extent, known someone, had someone in our lives like that. Although we are trying to do what's right, although we are trying to obey God, it is the wicked that are trying to bring us down. Look at here, we see in verse 2, the wicked, these people as they're described here, they make plans. They even plan to do evil. You know, there's several different types of sin. There's sin that happens because we are planning, that we are plotting, and we are intending to sin. It is rooted deep in our hearts. And then there's another type of sin that is a sin by circumstance. The opportunity arises and it's deep within our hearts, and because the opportunity presents itself, we take advantage of the opportunity and we thus sin. What we are talking about here in this verse, these evildoers, that is deep within their heart, that they are planning, they are intending to do evil. Have you ever known someone like that who had been plotting ways to speak against you or to harm you? Again, they're doing this, they're planning to use their words. Their words, and look at verse 3 and 4. Look at how it's described here. These evildoers who whet their tongues like swords, who aim bitter words like arrows, shooting from ambush at the blameless, shooting at him suddenly and without fear. Look at their words. Man, they're whetting their tongues like swords, like they're sharpening. You can imagine this iron smith who is spinning his wheel so that he can sharpen this sword and get it razor sharp and ready for battle. This is what they're doing. They're planning, and with their tongues, they are using their words to hurt. Aim bitter words like arrows. And look at this, they're shooting from ambush. Look at it. Again, who is the target? It's the blameless. They're shooting from ambush at the blameless, shooting at him suddenly and without fear. They don't care, these people. They don't care about what you feel. They don't care about your attitude. They don't care about your relationship with God. They're shooting at you. They're using their words. And if we continue reading, their hearts are full of wicked. They hold fast their evil purpose. They talk of laying snares secretly, thinking, who can see them? They search out injustice, saying, we have accomplished a diligent search, for the inward mind and heart of man are deep. These people that are characterized here in verses 1 through 6, they have a black, wretched heart. They want to do evil. That's their goal, is to be mean, to be unrighteous, to be an adversary to those who are holy, those who are blameless. And we see it characterized here in verse 5 because their evil purpose. And it says that they are laying snares. Now, you understand what a snare is. As I suppose, a poor illustration. My dad, I love hearing him tell this story. He said him and his brother would get together and they would put some cracked corn or something under this crate that they had made. And they would wait for a bird to come and to get under that crate. And they would, just like on a cartoon, they would yank the stick that was propping that up. And they'd catch that bird right in that snare that they had made. And then, this is how rednecks have fun, they get the cat, throw it in the cage. But there's the snare, right? That's the point. The snare. They're laying in wait. They have a point. There is an intention. It is an evil intention that these people, they are laying a snare secretly. And they're thinking, who can see them? And look at it. They go so far as to search out injustice, saying we have accomplished a diligent search. They are looking further at how to accomplish more and more wickedness. Boy, oh boy. These are bad people. Let's look at some conclusions here about what we have talked about so far from these wicked people. We understand that evil, it exists. We live in a world full of evil. We live in a world that is the majority controlled by Satan. And that evil does exist, and it will always exist as long as Satan is in power. As long as Satan remains the prince of the power of the air, the evil will exist. Evil prevails many times, doesn't it? In the world, in the media, in the social media, maybe even at your job, maybe even at your home, evil prevails. And far too often, what we see the target of evil is, it is the blameless. We also see another conclusion that is easy to draw from this particular passage, talking about the wicked, is that words hurt. You've heard the saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? Words will never hurt me. False, 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 right? That is not true. Now, they might not be able to make you black and blue, but they can hurt. They can sting. They can cut. And they can scar. They can cut so deep that it will alter your lifestyle. Words can hurt. Like arrows or like a sword that is being sharpened, words can hurt. So you need to be careful what you say. I think another conclusion that would be easy to draw from this particular passage is that evil arrives from the heart. Cleanse your heart. Get your heart right. Evil will not dwell there. Another character here, and in my opinion, this is the main character. The wicked are talked about more often, but this is the main character, and it's the Lord. And we see him in 7, 8, and 9. But God shoots his arrow at them, and they are wounded suddenly. They are brought to ruin. With their own tongues turned against them, all who see them will wag their heads. Then all mankind fears. They tell what God has brought about and ponder what he has done. The Lord. A few words here that set the Lord apart from the evildoers. We've already talked about the evildoers. Turn your attention to the most powerful being to ever exist. The Lord, in verse 7, keyword, suddenly. The Lord will shoot his arrow at them, and they are wounded suddenly. You remember these evildoers, they plot, they plan, they put a snare out, and guess what? They wait for the opportunity. They wait for the opportune time when the prey in this particular psalm, the blameless, the righteous, those who are trying to do what is pleasing in the eyes of God, where they wait for that opportune time to hurt them the most. But God, suddenly, God is far more powerful, far more potent than any evil doer. Another key word we see in verse 8, they are brought to ruin. They are ruined with their own tongues turned against them. All who see them will wag their heads. I don't know if you have drawn the conclusion here, but there's a difference. Because we see in verse 8, they are brought to ruin, these evildoers, these wicked people. They are brought to ruin with their own tongues turned against them. They are with their tongues, you remember, with their tongues they are trying to hurt you. They are trying to shoot these darts, these arrows at you and to cause you pain. But look, with their own tongues, they are ruined. They are brought to nothing. All who see them wag their heads. If you don't believe in a powerful God, look at this verse. God uses their own words to bring them to ruin. God uses the own weapons that they have sharpened, that they have fashioned, and he changes the game. And now their weapons are their own demise. God is a powerful God. You see verse 9. I think for me as I'm reading this, what I love is, then all mankind fears. Then all mankind fears. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the Almighty God. Don't fear him who can hurt and harm body, but fear him who can send both body and soul to hell. Then all mankind fears. They tell what God has brought about and ponder what he has done. Now you think about this. Set the scene with me. We have the evildoers over here. They are plotting, they're scheming. They are whetting their tongues, sharpening their tongues. They are preparing their words, and they are waiting for the righteous and the blameless to come into their snare. And then God turns the table. God turns the table on them. The blameless are again heralded as innocent and righteous, and these evildoers are ruined. What's the result of that? Verse 8, all will fear. The blameless will fear, and the evildoers will fear. Then everyone who has witnessed these accounts will fear. Everybody will be afraid of God. Why? Because our conclusion, God is a powerful God. God is even more powerful than these people. God is a cunning God. You ever thought about God being cunning? When I think about cunning in the Bible, I think about Satan. I think about Satan in the garden. More crafty than all the other creatures, he turns himself into a snake, right? And then he whispers into Eve's ear, you shall not surely die. You're going to see the way that God sees. Cunning. But Satan ain't got nothing on God. Satan, yeah, he may be cunning, he may be crafty, but God is this crafty one. God is the one who is more cunning. How about this? Try this on for size, Satan. I'm going to allow you to kill my son. And you killing my son will save the entire world. You talk about cunning. You talk about crafty. Someone who has come up with that plan before the world began, and he saw it in play into motion right as he intended. Do you think you can trust him when people are speaking evil against you? You think you can put your faith in him when things aren't going the way that you intended? Absolutely. God is powerful and cunning. And verse 9, God is fearful. This is a God that we need to be afraid of. And we need to, therefore, make sure that we are on the right side of his judgment. There's a third character here in the 64th Psalm. We've got the wicked, we've got the Lord. But in verse 1 and verse 10, we have, as serving as the bookends of this particular psalm, we've got the righteous. In verse 1, look at this with me. Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from dread of the enemy. In verse 10, let the righteous one rejoice in the Lord and take refuge in him. Let all the upright in heart exult. The righteous. This is the third group of people. This is the target of the wicked. We see here in verse 10, at the conclusion of this, after all the evil things that these people have done to the blameless, trying to entrap them, trying to ensnare them, trying to hurt them and bring them down, the righteous in verse 10 are instructed, step 1, rejoice. Think about that. When the world is hurting you, when you are in pain, when people are slandering you, rejoice. Read it again. Let the righteous one rejoice in the Lord. Don't forget the end. Don't rejoice in anything, but rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice in the Lord, because the Lord is the victor. The Lord is the one, secondly, that you can take refuge in. Rejoice in the Lord, because you can take refuge in Him. When you are getting shot, when you are getting cut down, when you are getting slandered, take refuge in God. Where else can I go but to the Lord? There's nowhere else, no other place that you can find peace, that you can find comfort, and more importantly, that you can find victory than turning to God. The wicked, they may be trying to hurt you. The Lord is going to win. What will you do? Will you rejoice? Will you take refuge in Him? For me, this has been an encouraging study, because there are difficult times in life. There are situations when I fall to my knees and struggle for words. But I know that I can rejoice, and I know that I can take refuge in God, no matter what. Maybe you need that refuge tonight. Maybe you need some peace and some comfort, some consolation. If we can help you, more importantly, if God can help you. I want to invite you to come as we stand and as we sing.